Hello and welcome to Rise Unwind. My name is Dan. You know, each and every week we try to talk to people from across the country about things you could do in your neighborhood. And on this week's show, we got this.
We have 1,000 volunteers. We're building 24 homes in 5 days. So it's an incredible opportunity to bring our partners together, volunteers from across the city and across the country and the globe, really, to build on behalf of affordable housing. So it's an amazing chance to connect.
Well, I like playing a guy who's my age. Now that doesn't sound like much to you, but I was Saul Goodman for, essentially 8 or 9 years. And Saul was younger than me by a lot. He was 10, 15 years younger than me. And I like playing Ulysses in the movie Normal because Ulysses...
All of that and more right here on Rise and Unwind. Kelsey Hart has been making serious moves in country music, earning millions of streams, touring across the country, and writing songs for some of the biggest names in his genre. With his new single, Something That You'd Miss, it shows a little more personal, reflective side and is the follow-up to his high-energy hit Fireworks. We're catching up with him today ahead of the release. Welcome to the show, Kelsey. How are you, my friend?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, Something That You'd Miss. It tells a vivid story. What's the backstory to this song?
Yeah, so it's a song I was a part of writing last year that one of my buddies, we were on a songwriting retreat, and he just started telling a story, kind of about a situation that he had been in that was similar to this, where wasn't anything, that really happened, bad in the relationship. The girl just, she had moved a long way from her hometown to be with him, and just decided, it just wasn't for her, so that's where the story stemmed from. And, he just said, I guess if I was more like her hometown, then I'd be something she'd miss too, and so that's where the song started. And, you hope that's something you never have to go through, but that's the reality for some folks. So,
in your debut, Life With You, it really connected with some fans. How does fan feedback tend to influence the direction you take with new music?
Yeah, no, Life With You was certainly, it's really cool getting to hear all the stories on that. And I think anytime we step into a room, you're hoping to write something that people can hang on to and kind of put to their life. And we're not just telling our own stories. We're trying to, every time we're writing songs, we're trying to help tell other people's stories. So that's the goal every time.
And I always like to ask musicians and artists about their influences. And it's not the same way about like, hey, who are your favorite influences? Outside of the music genre, what type of other art or artists, could be actors, writers, authors, filmmakers, what other artists out there kind of inspire you and your work when you go in to write music?
Oh man, as far outside of the music business, I mean, if I'm the first person that came to mind was Will Ferrell. And I just think of, a guy like him, is, a comedian, the funny guy, like not taking life so serious all the time. I think that's just a good approach to have, so I think the lightheartedness of a guy like him, is crucial.
And you've written for other artists as well. What is different about creating music for yourself versus writing for somebody else?
We're always, kind of trying to write in the direction of what I'm doing because I don't have a ton of time to write anymore. But it also just, at the end of the day, we can't record every single song that we're part of writing. So we'll just kind of break them down and see what we think, could possibly work well for another artist. And so I don't know if I think a ton about the differences of it. It's more of, kind of writing in my direction and then taking it and seeing what we can do.
So where does inspiration strike most when you're like writing new music? Are you like in the shower and realize, hey, I've been humming this little song, or out on tour with a guitar strumming around? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it just kind of comes from just daily life. And sometimes, hearing somebody say something, it can really even come from a conversation, the way somebody says something, or, you can pull titles and ideas from anything, and probably my favorite way to write a song is just going in to the room with a good idea, something that we can really, write around. So
And you've been out touring. Is there a recent moment or some like fan connection or anything that when you're on stage that it kind of stuck with you lately?
It's every night. It's kind of the same with Life with You. After we'll play Life with You as our last song, or one of our last songs, and then we'll do the meet and greets at the end of the night. And it's always the coolest part to me is just getting to talk to the fans and hear, their personal stories about, how the songs, have affected them and stuff. So I think every night that's probably my favorite part.
Kelsey Hart's new single, Something That You'd Miss. Find it on all streaming platforms and get some of his tour info over at kelseyhart.com. Hey, Kelsey, thanks for joining me this morning.
Hey, thanks for having me, buddy. Appreciate you.
A quiet little town, a substitute sheriff, and a bank robbery that turns into something way bigger than anybody expected. That's the setup for Normal, the new neo-Western thriller starring Bob Odenkirk. He joins us to talk about playing Sheriff Ulysses, working with director Ben Wheatley, and why this story keeps taking turns you don't see coming. Welcome to the show, Bob. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Good to see you.
All right. What grabbed you first about Normal? Was it the character, the mystery, or just
it was exactly that. It was the mystery. A lot of action films, they start with the action as quick as possible, and then they just stay in action as much as possible with very little character development or story. But this story that Derek Kolstad told me about a small town in the Midwest, and they have money, and there's no obvious reason why. And then it all explodes, and we learn their secret. I love this story. I love the mystery sequence, which is the first 35 minutes. And then, of course, it's pure action for the rest of the film. I just like the story, the character development, the way in which it's kind of like 3 or 4 films in one. And so I said, let's do that one. Let's try to make that happen. We were very lucky to get Ben Wheatley, a great director who's made many films, Free Fire, High Rise, Kill List, a lot of action films, but he always has character in all of his films, a lot of people that you can relate to. And so he was the perfect man for the job.
And Sheriff Ulysses, it feels like somebody's just trying to keep it together while everybody around him is kind of unraveling. What did you enjoy most about playing that character?
Well, I like playing a guy who's my age. Now, that doesn't sound like much to you, but I was Saul Goodman for, essentially 8 or 9 years. And Saul was younger than me by a lot. He was 10, 15 years younger than me. And I like playing Ulysses in the movie Normal because Ulysses has seen a lot of life and he's a little bit worn down by it. And I related to the guy. I liked him. And I liked his sense of humor. He had a smile. Things made him laugh. And so, I like playing the character.
And this movie has this grounded small town feel, but there's a lot of tension that's just like bubbling underneath the surface.
Yeah.
What was it like building that tone with Ben Wheatley?
That's the part that I worked on the most. And it's one of the reasons I get a story by credit on this film is because I helped build out the story of that small town. Normal is the actual name of a town, Normal, Illinois. And the movie was originally called The Interim, as in interim sheriff, part-time sheriff, or fill-in sheriff. And I said, let's call it Normal, because that's the kind of town. And Derek knew what I was talking about because he's from Wisconsin. That's the kind of town in the Midwest that we want to describe. These small towns they've been hit pretty hard by the economy in the last 40 years. They lost their factory. They have factory farms that have taken over the smaller farms. And I wanted to tell the story of one of those towns that's somehow chanced upon this money.
And once the audience settle into this story, it kind of starts escalating in a lot of unexpected ways. What are you most excited for people to experience when they start to watch it?
Well, it's really a fun movie to watch with a group. If you're going to rent Normal, have some people over, have some friends over. The way in which the story shifts, as you point out, it changes. It's like tectonic plates shifting. The whole vision of what you're looking at becomes a different world. And all those moments where what happens to Henry Winkler and what happens with the champagne cork And what happens after that, those things get the audience going. Those are things to experience with a group. It's been a great, fun film to watch with other people.
All right. I really enjoyed the movie. It was such a blast. I had a fun time with that. Normal is available now on all digital platforms and will be available anywhere you rent movies. Bob, I want to thank you for joining me today, my friend.
Yeah, man. Good to be here. Thanks.
Most people think it could never happen to them until somebody suddenly takes over a property and the legal process turns into a total nightmare. A&E's series Squatters follows Flash Shelton and his team as they help homeowners reclaim their homes in some pretty tense and emotional situations. Flash pretty much first got in this world after dealing with some squatters in his own family home, and now he's helping people across the country. Welcome to the show, Flash. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, your story started when squatters took over your mom's home. What was that experience like for your whole family?
You know, I kept it from my family actually, until later, but I couldn't tell my mom. My dad had just passed away, and I moved her in with me to sell her home and to help her have a fresh start and, closer to family. But, navigating that situation and learning all about squatters is what I needed to do to just be the good son. And my family, I couldn't tell my mom. She was still distraught over my dad. I just told her that I needed a lease so I could go up and be on the property to do some repairs. And, it was successful. I learned a lot about squatters and I out-squatted them. I figured if they could take a house, I could take a house.
And now that the show is out, what kind of reaction have you been getting from some of the viewers?
Everyone's excited. And, I think that the fact that the awareness is, it's teaching people what a squatter is and that they are normal people. They are just entitled and figured, that there's a flaw in the system. They should be able to take advantage of it. I think, people truly understanding that squatters are not homeless people. So squatters and a homeless in a housing crisis have nothing to do with each other.
And some of these situations on the series tend to be really intense. Was there one case in the season that surprised even you?
Yeah, I mean, I had a case where, there's several people and, I'm always hearing that, they're drug dealers or they're, committing crimes on the property or something. And, a lot of times it's, I have to look into it and I don't find any evidence of that. But in other cases, we just have to go in extremely careful. I don't want anyone to get hurt, including a squatter. So I think that the fact that, it's just, there are different types of cases every single day and different stories. So at this point, it's like, I don't know that anything surprises me.
And what do most people misunderstand about the squatting laws and how difficult these situations can become for homeowners?
I think that there is a misconception about squatter laws and tenant laws. Tenant laws in a lot of states were written under the, guides that a homeowner is rich and a tenant is poor. But anyone who owns a home knows that just because you own a mortgage doesn't make you rich. And tenants are not all poor. Some people just choose to rent. So, it's I think that there's a misconception about the laws themselves and the fact that there is no line between a squatter and a tenant. So squatters are assuming tenant rights.
And after helping in more than 100 cases, what advice would you give homeowners to help protect themselves before something like this happens to them?
Documentation, like being able to document when an intruder enters and how they enter. In today's day and age, there is no excuse not to have a camera that you can monitor from your phone anywhere in the world. When somebody walks up your driveway, you get alerted. When somebody goes into your mailbox, you get alerted. If you can monitor when they enter, they are now arrested as a trespasser and they will never become your squatter.
Flash Shelton, I really want to thank you for joining me today. You can catch episodes of Squatters now on A&E with streaming available on the A&E app and at anetv.com. Flash, thanks for joining me again today.
All right, thanks for having me.
A lot of action franchises try to go bigger every time, but Jack Ryan Ghost War is also digging into trust, loyalty, and what service really costs. The new film continues the world's fans already know while standing on its own for people jumping in fresh. And joining us today is the legendary Wendell Pierce, who returns as James Greer. Wendell, it's great to have you on the show, my friend. How are you?
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, James Greer has always been one of the most grounded characters in this world. What do you enjoy most about stepping back into him for Ghost War?
The character of James Greer really reflects some of the people that I met doing the research of this character. You know, real CIA officers, retired, who have kind of given me their true north to form a more perfect union, and some of the debate that they have within the agency, and but understanding that the shared idealism of working on the mission, which is to form a more perfect union and protect that. You know, those are shared values, and so stepping back into the role, that's the thing that I'd love to portray. You know, as an actor, you're a student of human behavior. And what you want to do is create the world so strong that it induces that behavior. And that's the great thing about reliving a role like James Greer.
One thing John Krasinski mentioned is that the story works for both longtime fans and for people who've never watched the series. Was that something you felt like while you were making it too?
Oh, absolutely. You don't have to be familiar with the series at all. You can come to this fresh. You will see the history that we have as characters. You will see our relationship. You see our expertise, and then also you have this story of what's happening now, this casual act that I ask a favor of Jack Ryan to do for me that actually ignites a global espionage chase. And so it is one of those things that people who have seen the series can come to and appreciate the next level of where we take the characters, and people who come to this fresh and new. But what we do over the course of a series, put into a 2-hour movie, is just heightened and it makes it a lot more intense.
And you said it's been heightened, it's more cinematic, a little bigger, but it also keeps the political and moral tensions that Tom Clancy's stories are known for. What kind of balance does this film strike between action and some of the character?
Well, you know, I think it's very important. I'm very proud of the fact that we keep the debate happening about the clarity of mission and clarity of what values are, and the political debate that happens around that, because that is happening within the world, what happens within the agency, and it makes you, as the viewer, look at it and decide what your values are. You know, I mean, that's the forum of what filmmaking should be about, the place where we collectively come together, reflect on who we are, decide where we want to go, decide what our values are, maybe bring that into our lives. And so I love that we have that debate, and at the same time have some of the best cinematic thrill sequences of action comparable to the French Connection and Marathon Man and all of that, you know. So I'm very proud of the cinematic and the debate that happens within the film.
And fans, they know you from so many incredible roles from over the years, but there's something about Greer that people really connect with. What do you think keeps audiences invested in this character and this franchise?
I try to make James Greer a everyman. You know, that people look at it and go, there but by the grace of God go I. You know, that they can see themselves in James Greer. He's a man of pragmatism. He's a family man. He's flawed as he tries and did not succeed in keeping his family together. But with all of that, he is principled. And he attempts to hang on to his principles and values. And people will see themselves in that, you know. Not someone who's perfect, but someone who's pragmatic and at least tries to live by some sort of moral code. And that's who we all are, and that's who we are when we dream of who we can become. So that's the thing that makes him prescient, you know, and personal. And that's what I pride myself on when I try to portray him.
Yeah, thanks for being here today. Jack Ryan, Ghost War premieres May 20th on Prime Video. Wendell Pierce, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
High blood pressure affects millions of adults, especially older Americans, but many people may not even realize they have it. Doctors say untreated hypertension can raise the risk for serious health problems like heart disease, stroke, and kidney disease. During National High Blood Pressure Education Month, Dr. Ahmed Mohiuddin from Oak Street Health is joining us to talk about warning signs, common misconceptions, and what people can do to stay healthy. Welcome, doctor.
Thank you.
So high blood pressure is often called a silent condition. Why is it so easy for people to miss the signs?
Yeah, so we talk about high blood pressure as the silent condition or even the silent killer because most people have no symptoms at all. I think people think that they have to have chest pain or blurry vision or headaches, and that if they don't have those, they're probably fine. Whereas, in fact, most people don't have any symptoms at all. So unless you're getting your blood pressure screened by your doctor or checking your blood pressure at home, then you might have high blood pressure right now and not even realize it. Thankfully, there's lots that we can do with early detection and early monitoring to help prevent or treat high blood pressure.
So what are some of the biggest misconceptions people still have about high blood pressure?
Yeah, I see lots of misconceptions about high blood pressure just in my daily practice. So first of all, just to reiterate, people feel that they have to feel bad in order to have high blood pressure, whereas, again, most people have no symptoms at all. The second one is they have a family history of high blood pressure. They see their parents with high blood pressure, their grandparents with high blood pressure, and they think it's some sort of inevitability that, like, oh, eventually it's just a matter of time before I myself have high blood pressure as well. Whereas, in fact, there's lots that we can do to prevent high blood pressure or manage high blood pressure as well. And then the third is some people need medicines for their high blood pressure. There's this misconception that's out there that, oh, all medicines have side effects, and once I start on medicines, I'm kind of relegated to a lifetime of side effects. Whereas, in fact, there's lots of medicines with little or no side effects. Just really talking to your doctor, getting on the appropriate medication regimen can really limit or totally eliminate any side effects that you might have.
And when hypertension goes unmanaged, what kind of health risks can it lead to over time?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's lots of things that a high blood pressure can lead to. So I think about when I think about blood pressure, I think about the circulatory system. I think about your blood vessels that are going through your entire body. So there's blood vessels that go down to your feet all the way up to your brain. And when the pressure is high in those blood vessels, then it causes damage to the organs that those vessels feed. So for instance, you have blood vessels that go to your kidneys. When there's pressure that's high in those blood vessels, then that can cause kidney disease. And when you have vessels that go to your heart, and the blood pressure is high in those blood vessels, then that can cause heart disease or even a heart attack. And then you have blood vessels that go to your brain. And when the pressure is high in those blood vessels, then if it's high enough or sudden enough, that can cause a stroke. But even if not, then over time, that can predispose you to dementia.
And what are some important steps older adults can take to better manage their blood pressure?
Yeah, thankfully, there's lots of things that we can do to prevent high blood pressure or treat high blood pressure for older adults or really even anyone. So first of all, I would talk about nutrition. Really focusing on fresh fruits and vegetables, avoiding processed or ultra-processed foods, getting rid of your table salt or limiting that, and then look at your labels, decreasing the amount of sodium intake that you're taking. That does wonders when it comes to preventing high blood pressure. Second, cardiovascular exercise. So I always tell people to just do what they enjoy. If they like walking, go for walks. If they like biking, go on your bike or your indoor bike. If you like swimming, then go for a swim. Whatever it is, as long as it gets your heart going and your heart beating, then independent of whether that causes any weight loss, that prevents or treats high blood pressure. And then thirdly, we talk about sleep. We kind of know 7 to 8 hours of sleep is really important. I would say not as many of us are actually getting that 7 to 8 hours, but really focusing on sleep, getting 7 to 8 hours for most adults of quality sleep. And then managing the other stressors in our lives, which can happen to anyone, can be really important for preventing high blood pressure or treating it when you have it. Some people also need to go on medicines, so talking to your doctor, getting on the right medication regimen that works for you, and then taking those medicines is really important. All this can seem like a lot, but with the right care team, you can really tackle all these head on.
And where can viewers go if they want more information or resources?
Yeah, visit us at oakstreethealth.com or give us a call at 888-744-6392.
And thank you so much, Dr. Mohiuddin.
Thank you so much.
Habitat for Humanity is celebrating its 50th anniversary this week with the Jimmy and Rosalind Carter Work Project in Atlanta, where more than 1,000 volunteers are helping build affordable housing for families in need. And honestly, seeing that many people come together in one mission is pretty incredible. Joining us today are Charlita Stevens-Walker from Habitat for Humanity and Dana Hudson from Masterbrand to talk about the project, the volunteers, and why partnerships like this have such a big impact. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
So happy to be here.
Happy to be here.
So Charlita, for people who may not know much about the Carter Work Project, what makes this build so special compared to other Habitat projects?
So for the Jimmy and Rosalind Carter project, we actually bring thousands of volunteers into one space and we build a number of houses. In this case, in Atlanta, we have 1,000 volunteers. We're building 24 homes in 5 days. So it's an incredible opportunity to bring our partners together, volunteers from across the city and across the country and the globe, really, to build on behalf of affordable housing. So it's an amazing chance to connect. And this is a very special time to do it. And our partners are invaluable in that work.
And Habitat does work with a lot of volunteers and community partners. Why are those corporate partnerships so important to making projects like this happen?
So we could not do this work without our partners like Masterbrand, who donate amazing, amazing things that are going to be so meaningful to the families in the houses that they're going to be living in. But we have partners. We have all the things that bring together the importance of housing and making sure that we can do things to build thriving communities. So without our corporate partners, this could not happen. With team engagement projects, with volunteer hours, with donated products, with funding to support building and other areas of housing, it is a critical ingredient to making sure that we have housing affordability across the globe.
And Dana, Masterbrand has supported Habitat for a long time now. Why has this mission stayed important to your company?
Well, this is an incredible project, and we are so proud to be a part of it. This really aligns with our mission of giving back, and we do so on builds like this in three ways. The first is we donate product. So we are providing all the kitchen and bathroom products that are going to make these homes really wonderful spaces. Secondly, we provide all the design services to make sure that our beautiful and stylish cabinetry comes together very well. And third, we have people here on site actually helping to bring all the houses together. And so for us, this is a way that makes the best of our company come together to help create stability, connection, and a place for very warm memories for all of these very deserving families.
And you also have volunteers helping with the build this year. What is it like for your team to actually be out there seeing these homes come together in person?
There's nothing more rewarding than seeing everything that you have been working on hands-on all week come together in such a wonderful way. There is so much warmth, energy, and I know that it just gives every member of our team incredible purpose to be here.
That sounds incredible. And Charlita, where can people go if they want more information or would like to maybe get involved?
Well, Habitat for Humanity is in all the 50 states, and we're in 60 countries around the globe. So there is always a Habitat opportunity for involvement. If you want to know more information for your local communities, you can go to habitat.org, and then you can find out what is available for you to do. But just know it's not just building. We need support all across areas of housing. So thank you for asking that question, and it's habitat.org.
Charlita Stevens-Walker and Dana Hudson, I want to thank you both for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
Hey, I want to thank you for tuning in to Rise Unwind. If you want to be part of the show, just go to our website, riseunwindtv.com, fill out the form, send it in. Maybe you could be on a future episode. We're on social media, Facebook and Instagram. Plus, you can find our YouTube channel at Rise Unwind. And until next week, that was the show we like to call Rise and Unwind.